The envelope wasn't postmarked. No stamp. No return address. Just my name scrawled across the front in aggressive, looping cursive that screamed entitlement. I found it wedged into my screen door on a Tuesday morning, right between my first cup of coffee and the moment I planned to check on the horses. I should have known right then that my life was about to become a battlefield. I ripped it open, and the words hit me like a sledgehammer. Notice of land reclassification. Effective immediately. Your property at 1247 Ridgeline Road has been designated as community recreation space under the jurisdiction of the Pinewood Hills Homeowners Association. I read it twice, then 3 times. Then I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that echoed across my 70-acre ranch. Community property? My family's ranch that my grandfather built with his bare hands in 1959? The land I'd spent my entire life maintaining. The fields where I'd buried 2 dogs and scattered my father's ashes? They were claiming it belonged to the neighborhood. I crumpled the letter and hurled it across the porch, over my dead body. But as I stood there, staring at my field stretching toward the pine-covered mountains, I realized something chilling. This wasn't a mistake. This was a hostile takeover, dressed up in bureaucratic language, and signed by someone who thought a clipboard made them God. And I was about to show them exactly what happens when you try to steal a rancher's land. The first invasion happened less than 2 hours later. I was fixing a broken fence post when I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. Not one car, several. I turned and felt my blood pressure spike. A silver Mercedes SUV led the procession, followed by 3 minivans and a Jeep. They rolled up my driveway like they owned it. The Mercedes door opened, and out stepped a woman who looked like she'd been assembled in a Karen factory. Blonde bob cut with military precision. Designer sunglasses that cost more than my truck payment. A white blazer, so crisp it could cut glass. And, of course, the universal symbol of petty tyranny, a clipboard pressed against her chest like a shield. 2 other board members emerged behind her, a nervous-looking man in khakis, and a younger woman whose expression screamed, "I didn't sign up for this." The blonde marched toward me with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no in her entire life. "Mr. Garrett," she announced, not asked. "I'm Linda Hartwell, president of the Pinewood Hills HOA. I assume you received our notice." I set down my hammer slowly. "Yeah, I got your fairy tale." Her smile was plastic surgery tight. "This isn't a joke. Your property has been incorporated into our community development plan due to historical recreational use by residents." "Historical use?" I repeated. "Lady, the only people who've used this land are me and my livestock." The nervous man cleared his throat. "Actually, I've walked through your eastern pasture several times. Beautiful hiking trail." I stared at him. "You mean you trespassed several times?" Linda waved a dismissive hand. "Once land is incorporated, community members are entitled to responsible recreational use. It fosters unity and..." "Unity?" I cut her off. "You mean theft. You can't just vote to steal someone's property." Her jaw tightened. "The HOA board voted unanimously. This is official." "Official?" I took a step closer. "Show me the deed. Show me the purchase agreement. Show me anything that proves you own even 1 square inch of this ranch." Silence. Just the wind rustling through the pines and the distant sound of my horses snorting. Linda adjusted her sunglasses. "We don't need a deed. The HOA bylaws allow for community land integration when there's demonstrated historical." She never finished that sentence, because that's when the second wave arrived. Car engines rumbled up the driveway. I looked past Linda and felt something inside me snap. 6 more vehicles. SUVs, minivans, even a convertible with a cooler strapped to the back. Families poured out like this was a grand opening of a theme park. A golden retriever bounded toward my barn. 2 teenagers immediately launched a drone. A family of 4 started setting up a picnic blanket on my front lawn. My front lawn. What the hell is this? I growled. Linda smiled, smug, victorious. The community is exercising their access rights. I watched in disbelief as a man in cargo shorts started assembling a portable volleyball net. A woman spread out a yoga mat. Someone else was flying a kite. "Get off my land." I roared, marching toward them. Cargo shorts guy looked at me like I was a problem. Dude, relax. The HOA said this is public space now. It is not public space. I was shaking with rage. This is MY Ranch. But the HOA said the yoga woman started. I don't give a damn what the HOA said. I shouted, "Get off my property before I call the sheriff." The dad scratched his head. "There's no need to be hostile, man." I was 2 seconds from physically escorting them out when Linda placed a hand on my shoulder. The presumptuous gesture nearly made me lose it completely. "Tom," she said sweetly, like we were old friends, "this is exactly what we're talking about. Community members enjoying their space together." I shrugged her hand off like it was a wasp. This is not their space. More cars were arriving. I counted 12 vehicles now. Kids running wild. Dogs barking. Someone started a portable grill. I turned back to Linda, my voice dropping to a deadly calm. "You have 10 seconds to get these people off my land before I take action." Her smug expression flickered. "We will escalate this matter." "Good," I said, "because so will I." Linda climbed into her Mercedes, and the trespassers, sensing something was wrong, slowly packed up. As the last car disappeared down my driveway, I stood there, fists clenched, heart pounding. This was war, and I was about to fight it the only way I knew how, with everything I had. That night, I called my lawyer, Marcus Webb. He specialized in property rights and had a reputation for destroying HOAs. "Marcus, they're trying to take my entire ranch." He whistled. "Tell me everything." After I explained, he was silent for a moment. Then, "Tom, this is fraud. But here's what you need to do. First, document everything. Every trespass, every conversation. Second, check county records for any paperwork they filed. And third," he paused, "install deterrents. Make it impossible for them to use your land." "What kind of deterrents?" "Legal ones. Electric fencing is permitted in your county. Low voltage, non-lethal, but enough to make people think twice. Also, cameras, motion sensors, signs. Turn your ranch into Fort Knox." The next morning, I drove to the county clerk's office and requested all property records for my ranch. The clerk handed me a thick folder, and I sat down to read every page. Everything was in order, until I found a document filed 3 weeks ago. An annexation request submitted by Linda Hartwell. No landowner's signature. No legal transfer. Just her name and a fabricated list of historical community uses. She'd forged the entire thing. I photographed every fraudulent page. Then I drove to a hardware store and bought everything Marcus suggested. Electric fence wire, solar controllers, warning signs, cameras, motion sensor lights. By sunset, I'd installed a complete perimeter around my property. Low-voltage electric fencing, clearly marked with warning signs every 20 feet. I flipped the switch, and the fence hummed to life. Linda returned 3 days later, this time with an entourage. I was on my porch when I heard the convoy. A dozen cars rolling up my driveway, horns honking, music blasting. Linda stood in the passenger seat of her Mercedes, holding a megaphone like she was leading a parade. "Attention, community members," she shouted. "Today marks the first official Pinewood Hills community picnic on our newly acquired recreation land." Cheers erupted. People started unloading grills, coolers, volleyball nets. I walked toward the fence, coffee in hand, watching the chaos unfold. "Linda," I called out calmly, "turn this circus around and leave." She ignored me completely. This land belongs to all of us. More cheers. Someone started setting up a bounce house. Then it happened. A jogger, headphones in, expensive running shoes, decided to do a warm-up lap along my fence line. He cut the corner too close without looking. Snap. He hit the electric wire shoulder first. The shock wasn't lethal, just strong enough to make him rethink every decision that led to this moment. He yelled and jumped back 3 feet, tripping over his own legs and crashing into a picnic basket. Screams erupted. A woman dropped a bowl of potato salad and shrieked. Linda's megaphone screeched. I tried not to smile. I really did. But one corner of my mouth betrayed me. The jogger scrambled to his feet, hair standing on end. What was that? I leaned against the fence casually. That was a legally installed, county-approved, non-lethal electric deterrent. Warning signs are posted every 20 feet. You electrocuted me. No, you electrocuted yourself by touching a fence that belongs to someone else. A group of kids chasing a soccer ball reached the fence. The ball bounced toward it, zap, and shot backward like a missile. More screams. Parents started shouting at Linda. What kind of picnic is this? You said it was safe. Linda's face went from confident to panicked. Everyone, please remain calm. But the damage was done. Someone's hot dog flew through the air when their grill tipped over. A frisbee whizzed past Linda's head. The bounce house deflated with a sad wheeze. Within 10 minutes, the entire crowd fled my driveway, leaving behind tire marks, abandoned coolers, and one very angry HOA president. Linda marched toward me, fuming. Turn it off. No, this is illegal. Already checked. Perfectly legal. Non-lethal, clearly marked. Installed on private property. This isn't over, she hissed. Oh, I said with a grin. It's just beginning. The following week, Marcus filed our countersuit. If the HOA insisted my ranch was under their jurisdiction, then they were responsible for 20 years of unpaid maintenance fees, liability insurance, property taxes, and road repairs. Total bill for $187,000. When word spread to the neighborhood, the homeowners turned on Linda. Nobody wanted their HOA dues to skyrocket because of her power trip. Within 2 weeks, an emergency HOA meeting was called. I attended. Since they claimed my property, I technically had voting rights now. The meeting room was packed. Angry homeowners filled every seat. Linda stood at the front, looking rattled. This is a coordinated attack, she shouted. Tom Garrett has manipulated you all. I stood up slowly. Manipulation? I have your forged annexation request right here. Linda, your signature. Your lies. A board member stood, trembling. Linda, why didn't you tell us about the financial liability? I acted in the community's best interest. Motion to remove Linda Hartwell as HOA president, someone shouted. Seconded. Dozens of hands shot into the air. The vote was unanimous. Linda sank into her chair, defeated. A week later, the remaining board members approached me with an unusual request. They wanted me to become HOA president, so I could dissolve the HOA entirely. Make sure this never happens again, they said. I agreed. 5 days later, I was elected unanimously. My first official act? The Pinewood Hills HOA is hereby dissolved. The cheers were deafening. That weekend, I threw a massive barbecue on my ranch. The electric fence hummed in the background, a reminder of what we'd fought for. Neighbors came, not as trespassers, but as invited guests. We ate, laughed, and celebrated freedom. As the sun set over my fields, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Peace. My land was safe. My family's legacy was protected. And I'd learned something important. Sometimes, the best way to fight a bully is to make them pay, literally. The end. What would you do if someone tried to claim your property? Comment below. And don't forget to subscribe for more wild HOA revenge stories.